Hello, lovelies. Auntie had a new visitor to her cottage, a nice young woman with a heavenly voice, and she agreed to help Auntie tell you this tale. Please welcome Spooky Stories for You. Her links will be at the end and in the descriptions below. So, you know what to do, lovelies. Visit her channel and show her that creepy love. But now, it's time to get comfy, grab your favorite drink, and hear the tale of a woman with a strange gift and of a tragic murder she must solve. Our story is called Interview with Jane Doe, the story of Dr De Salvo, by Daniel Bridge. It was 4:30 a.m. on a cold December morning when Dr. De Salvo got the call. There was a young girl found dead by the side of the Mississippi River. A cold, disturbing silence followed as the local sheriff described briefly the scene as he had found it. She felt a deep wrench within her stomach, as if she instinctively knew what was to come. Marguerite was, without doubt, the leading medical examiner within Yazoo County. However, she had a distinct talent for finding out the finer, more delicate details of a case. Or was it a curse? She couldn't decide. Marguerite had only been aware of this unique aspect of herself a matter of a few months, but it had proved immensely accurate on recent prominent investigations. She had become quite a powerful medium after the trauma of her husband's savage murder at the hands of an unknown assailant. The case remained unsolved. And now, as she made her way to the county morgue, she tried to anticipate the horrors which awaited her. On entering the municipal building to the left of Yazoo City Hall, she felt the all too familiar chill and desolate emptiness encompass her. As she changed into her scrubs, ready to perform the autopsy, the hairs on her arms began to stand on end, and the emptiness deepened. As she approached the young victim's still and lifeless body on the cold metal table, she felt a single tear roll down her cheek. The victim was unidentifiable, as the attacker had carved pieces of her facial tissue away, and also removed her eyes, as if to suggest that they felt that the eyes held the secret to the solving of this horrific incident. As she raised her head to adjust the lighting above her, Marguerite felt a presence looming over her left shoulder and slowly spun on her heel to face what appeared to be the soul of the victim that lay in front of her. With her facial features fully restored, she was a strikingly beautiful young woman with a distressing story to tell. The building was intimidatingly quiet, eerie in fact, so Marguerite grabbed herself the usual strong, sweet, black coffee, pulled up a chair, and listened. The spirit introduced herself as Sophia Markham, and she was here touring the southern regions, freeloading from state to state, picking up work where she could, but that, as she was about to find out, was far from the truth. "How old are you?" asked Marguerite.
22.
Was the reply. Looking at the body, she noticed that she was wearing denim short shorts with several small blood spatter stains around the groin area. Taking a large gulp of her coffee, Marguerite stood and took a swab of the blood for analysis. Retaking her seat, she began to ask a few more questions of her new friend. "Where are you from?" There was an uncomfortably short pause before.
"Greensboro, North Carolina,"
Sophia replied. As they continued to talk, the emptiness in Marguerite's stomach began to relent, and, strangely, she began to feel more comfortable talking to Sophia. Now she no longer regarded her as a Jane Doe, but as a real person. After half an hour of small talk between the two, Marguerite returned to the autopsy table and began to carefully remove the victim's clothing, noticing the fact that both of the girl's shoes were missing, and that her feet were immaculately clean, considering where she was found. It was then that Sheriff James T. Fitzwilliam entered the room and filled in the doctor with the information of the scene to help fill in the blanks. Firstly, there was no ground disturbance where the Jane Doe was found, which was leading them towards a primary crime scene. Secondly, he acknowledged the fact of the missing shoes as strange, and also confirmed that no purse or bag were found either. Also, there was no sign of any blood at the scene, which was also considered strange. Sheriff Fitzwilliam was more than aware of Marguerite's unique gift, and allowed her to continue, as it gave him the missing details of what really happened. Glancing briefly at Sophia's savagely mutilated body, Marguerite noticed a very distinctive yet highly unusual tattoo upon her inner left forearm. Now, she had seen this image once before, 10 years ago, on a case remarkably similar to this one. Another Jane Doe, before her gift became apparent. The symbol was one of the all-seeing eye, encased in a highly intricate pentagram design, and was once used to identify members of a private community, some would say cult. However, this community was now believed obsolete, and had been for 6 long years, or so she thought. Sophia's spirit appeared to be more than a little agitated at this discovery, and began to slowly fade away. Marguerite summoned her back, reassuring her that she only wanted to catch who did this to her, and not judge her choice of lifestyle. With that, she retired to her office and reclined into her soft leather chair, fresh coffee in hand, and began to dig a little deeper into the terrible circumstances of the young girl's death. Firstly, she wanted to know where Sophia had been prior to the incident.
"I had been working at the Mumford farm, baling hay,"
was the reply.
"I had struck up a close friendship with the youngest son, Jason. He asked me to stay for dinner, but I politely declined as I was starting to feel a little uncomfortable. He seemed to always be watching me, sometimes leering at me."
"And then what happened?"
"Well, that's where it gets kinda creepy. After leaving the farm around 6 p.m., just as the sun was going down, I remember walking down the long, dusty drive from the house, staying to the side near the fence that bordered the paddock. I did this as the older brothers are crazy. They drive like madmen."
As she spoke, Marguerite made mental notes.
but I could sense something wasn't right, you know? I could feel someone watching me, following me from a distance. The far side of the paddock was lined by thick woodland, so it was hard to see anyone. I was on my way home to the commune in Pickens, but never got there.
She continued. Do you know who killed you and why? Was the next question.
Yes,
was her reply.
It was Sheriff Fitzwilliam. He's also a member of the commune, one of the elders there. He kept manipulating situations where we were together, alone. I kept pushing away, and I guess he had enough of the rejection. That night, I felt him following me from the farm. He didn't like me being there as he couldn't manipulate it. He caught up with me around 5 miles from Pickens, started to say things like he loved me and how could I do this to him? Where was my loyalty to the beliefs of the commune? They believed man had rights to any woman he wanted, not me.
Upon further examination of the body, fibers were found deep in the facial lacerations, and also small fragments of silver in the empty eye sockets, and deep contusions on the wrists, which were indicative of handcuffs. It was also identified that she had been gagged and blindfolded using heavy-duty tape. This was determined by residue in what remained of her eyebrows. As the case began to build, and the sheriff began to shift uneasily at the accusations the town were throwing in his direction, Marguerite called her friend in Virginia. Dr. Abigail Fountain was leading ME for the FBI and saw the case as a vital opportunity to further her career. She brought with her 15 years of high-profile case experience and no shortage of enthusiasm to help put away someone sworn to keep the peace and protect the citizens of Yazoo City. As the investigation continued, Sophia began to appear less and less. But on the occasions she did, the evidence began to make more sense. For example, the silver in her eye sockets were shards of a hunting knife, which had clearly, crudely gouged out the eyes. Sophia described the pain she felt as this vile act was carried out while she was alive. The feeling of the blade grinding on the bone of the socket, and the blood pouring down each cheek as her screams rang out to no avail. The fibers were indicative of those used in public service uniforms and were the color of the sheriff's shirt. These initially sealed his fate, along with the evidence provided by the medical examiner's office. He was sentenced to life without parole. As the verdict was delivered, Sophia made her final appearance to Marguerite as she looked around the courtroom, and, with a grateful smile, faded away.